Hello and welcome to AWS Repost Live, the companion live stream to repost.aws, where we dive deep into your questions from the AWS Repost community and show you how to leverage AWS to achieve your goals and solve your problems. I'm joined today by...
I think the robots.
We have technical difficulties right off the top, but at least we've got Jay smiling.
Okay,
there
am I
he
back?
is. Okay, he's back.
I'm back. Whew! I got
we didn't
warped into the repost universe.
We
Hello,
didn't
friends.
do the demo dance again.
Oh boy, yes, got to pay the tolls.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. Jay Busch, the hostess with the mostest, here with my friend from Philly, Stephen Heverin, of course. Yeah, we're here to do stuff and things. I think we're here to recap Reinforce, right? And
we are here to recap Reinforce. Yeah, that happened in my backyard in Philadelphia last week, which was awesome, a really good time, and made it out before the storm and the big power outage we had here. So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Got to have some cheesesteaks, some other stuff, got to see a football match. So yeah, it was a lot of good time, but we're going to be talking about some of the things that we saw from Reinforce that we liked. We've got a question that we asked there that we're going to be covering as well. So when I left you, Jay, I left you getting food. Did you go to Denix?
I did. I had, I think, 3 cheesesteaks during my whole time. So after we cover our favorite Reinforce announcements and, just tools and different things that you should be playing around with, I'll do a deep dive on my favorite Philly cheesesteak.
All right.
I know this is what the fans really want.
Absolutely. So yeah, let us know in the comments. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know if you made it to Reinforce or if you caught any of the live stream that we were doing while we were there. And let us know where you're joining us from, where you're listening in from. We want to hear where you're coming at us from. And as always, we've got a survey. It's in the chat. Check it out. Fill out the survey. Let us know how we're doing. But I think with that, I've covered all the intro bases, right? We've gotten through the technical glitch. And now let's get on to our question, right? All right. So let me share my screen. And what we've got. So what we had asked in our Repost Live segment at Reinforce last week, as we were going out, we, with Inspector's ability to identify programming language vulnerabilities, how can I incorporate this better into my CI/CD pipeline, right? We had some keynotes that talked around, kind of doing that end to end. My, security is job zero, that kind of stuff. So I posted that question out there last week, and the Repost community did not disappoint. Didn't even get a chance for our AI agent to get involved. And we got 3 answers here coming into this. I'm going to jump past the one I marked as the accepted answer, but I thumbed up all of the answers because I really, really like them. So one of the things that Riku Kobayashi had suggested here, and our friend Gary, who's been on the show before, has mentioned, right, is this unrelated, is that there is an action in code pipeline called Inspector Scan. And you can use this to scan the ECR images with Amazon Inspector as part of your pipeline. Something that was new to me, something I didn't know. Which was really cool to learn that, right? So it's one, always check the documentation, right? Because there's probably stuff in there that's new or that you may not have known about. So I appreciate learning that, and that's something really cool to get in there. The other one that we had, Jay, was from Shajam, and I'll say this: all 3 answered kind of had 3 different perspectives on this, which was great, right? And so what they talked about here is, he didn't think that the new capability here, which was us talking about the enhanced scanning piece of this, right?
Yeah.
So there's kind of 2 features that were released at or near Reinforce that were talked about. So there's the ECR enhanced scanning, and really what this covered was being able to kind of deep dive and scanning those container images, the running container images, and to be able to get a lot more deeper in raising those vulnerabilities up with. And so I agree with Shajam here, and I hope I'm saying your name right, and that that you want to have that ability there and kind of turned on and things like that, right? So with that though, what we got is a kind of a deeper answer, and this is what I think I was really going for. And maybe I probably could have phrased my question more correctly. And Gary came in, and one of the support engineers as well, who reviewed the answer, right, came in from with a really nice detailed answer, and this is kind of what I was looking for here. So it really talks about where you now have this capability in Inspector to integrate into your code repositories, right? And then have that kind of scanning happen there and be able to discover those vulnerabilities more quickly, right? Sooner as you go up. Because, you've got complicated applications, things that might have lots of libraries and things in them, and keeping them up to date is, a pain in the butt. So with that, I thought I'd walk through here. So the way you turn this on, I want to cover this and kind of walk through some of this. So you go into Inspector here in your account, and you want to turn it on, and you start with coming down here to the account management, right? Now here, I've already got a lot of things turned on, but you can come down here, you scroll down, check code repository scanning. That's the feature I want to enable. So once you've activated that, you now have this ability to have these code repositories attached, associated, and be scanned. And in that, you can come over here to code security now, this nice new icon that you've got here. And what you can see in here is you've got code repositories, and you come over here to integrations, and now you can connect. I want to go, hey, you know what? I want to go and connect this. Of course, I'm using GitHub, so I'm going to connect it to my GitHub repository. Now, some of the things that I was going through and looking at this and setting up to understand it, when you first go to do this in your account or as an organization, you want to create it wants to have and set a default scan configuration, which you can edit and set a default scan configuration. But once you've done that, then it's kind of set as the default for that entire account. And it's not something you can, I think, easily undo. So what they recommend, or what you can do, is if you're not ready to kind of set it globally, you just want to maybe, hey, I want to do it, do a scan configuration in this repository. So I can skip that. And then from here, I'm going to grab an integration that I'm going to do over in GitHub. And the way this works for GitHub, at least, is you've got the vulnerability scan action for Amazon Inspector. And you would take this from the marketplace, add that, integrate that in with GitHub Actions, configure also some of the credentials that you're going to need to be able to do that. Once you get that integration, you paste that in here, you connect it, and now that's wired up, and you can start using that and having Inspector scanning on your all your code repositories and stuff. And there's a couple there's an IAM policy and IAM role that you need to create with it, but it's all spelled out kind of in the help there.
This is going to be super helpful. Again, just how prolific some of those legacy code bases are that are out there in the wild. Feel free to let us know in chat if you could see how you could employ this in your organization. I can see a lot of use cases, Stephen, where I have a lot of customers who get bit by these sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back here, I love that the community just jumps in and gives me some great answers and great help. I really love that. We got some great traction on this. Let us know, hey, what do you think of this? What do you, definitely, is this something you're going to be able to do? And I think one of the things I'll say kind of in closing with this question before we start to move on and do some other things is, with this, there was that talk that our CISO Amy Herzog gave in her keynote about integrating this, right? And I think the answers that we got from Gary and Shajam and Riku and stuff, they kind of compromised that end-to-end kind of pipeline. Security is job zero at AWS, right? And now we're giving you those tools that all through that, right? Have the code checked for security, make that security so it's part of your normal DevOps operations, right? You writing your code, you're checking it in, you're doing those deployments, and all the way the security is being checked, or those vulnerabilities are being looked for, and those things are just being called out or handled and addressed or patched automatically, right? And then gets into production. But I think here that was covered with these 3 different views on this, like, hey, having that scanning. This is great to integrate it, scan that code base. But what happens if I've got an application that's pretty stable, right? We're not releasing tons of features. I don't need to kind of worry about some of that stuff. But I still want that scanning to happen, right? So with that, being able to, still have that scanning, you still want inspector enabled, you would still want it enabled for enhanced scanning.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. Actually, I knew I forgot something. And again, I'm going to get back there. Let me find it. This is what happens when we don't do the demo dance beforehand.
You have to pay the toll to the demo gods. Otherwise, they giveth and they taketh. But no, a lot of this stuff is new. So, much like yourself, Stephen, I've sort of been clicking around, trying to implement these in my sort of workflows, and just seeing where some of these net new capabilities that we announced at Reinforce are going to be, kind of valuable.
Right. And that was the other piece there that was mentioned in the quip, in the question.
Yeah.
Here is, you've got an ECR, right, where you talk about that continuous scanning here. And if you come in here, you now have that enhanced scanning and that ongoing thing. Like, so if my images don't change that often when they're deployed, right, then, you come in here, you have that enhanced scanning on, and it's going to continuously scan those images when they're running or when they're there in the repository, and making sure that you've really kind of got that stuff, to be alerted. So your security is right there, right? Because if I change that image and don't touch the code for 6 months, I still want to make sure that I'm up to date and secure, right?
Yeah. And I hope that you're touching that code before 6 months, Stephen, but.
Well, I mean, I made
Maybe
it
not.
perfect I made my code perfect the right time. It has all the features my users want, and I don't need to do any more. I can sit back and relax. And
there's no bugs when you vibe code. There's 0 bugs. It's the benefit of it all.
Absolutely. Let us know what you think about some of this stuff in the comments. Ask your questions and stuff that's going on. So I think, Jay, what do you got? I think you got some things that you want to talk about now.
Yeah. That was a cool use case that we that I'm glad that the community kind of took off with, that we posted live on air. I thought that was super cool. I hope we do that for future segments. One of the things that I covered when we were together in Philadelphia, Stephen, was the last Infinity Stone to MFA, if you will. So I'm going to start with
you are really pushing that analogy hard, aren't you? The
MFA journey has been, a rollout for a few years now, right? And certainly we've kept customers in mind so as to not be disruptive to their production workloads. And so what I began to cover on site at Reinforce is a topic that honestly you and I covered at reInvent. We've done shows here on Repost Live that cover central root management access and the like. So it is something that is super applicable to just about every customer, which is how we are enforcing kind of secure by design across your accounts, and the recent announcement of doing so for your member accounts is just kind of, as I mentioned, as Stephen jokes, the last Infinity Stone. So enforcing MFA for member account root users is really kind of the last kind of domino, if you will, that's gonna fall here. And so I found this to be an interesting announcement. Not really interesting, I suppose, but pretty critical, right? There is a timeline associated with this, which I believe is 35 days, if I recall from the documentation, from enforcement for anyone out there who, for whatever reason, didn't have MFA enabled on those accounts. So again, from our initial enforcement at the like management account level to standalone account enforcement, now we're kind of covering all of our bases for MFA to be enabled. I mentioned this previously, but we've covered this previously and how you can not just ensure MFA is enabled, but sort of centrally manage MFA for your users. I'll shameless plug on our previous episode there. I'll let you guys, we'll maybe throw that in the chat, let you go check that out. But yes, you definitely want to be aware of the 35-day timeline, I suppose, that you're kind of looking out onto the horizon as it pertains to enforcement.
And I think what Amy Herzog had mentioned also in her talk, or somebody, maybe it was Justin, like you can now do like 8 MFA devices per identity or something like that. Like
something
I don't
wild.
Like I don't know that I could, that's a lot to keep track of if I've got 8 MFA devices for
and so central management and enabling this, I haven't done it in this account, but like it's super easy, right? Like there's really, we really try to deploy a lot of different tool sets so that you can manage root effectively, right? And this, I had customers who kind of employed a bit of a throwaway root the methodology long before this was available, and I'm glad that now you can kind of standardize around central root management access just kind of natively in AWS. So you see it like just really easily. I was able to kind of deploy root access management like across my AWS org. It's a pretty vanilla and boring organization, but I'm now able to do things like privileged sessions and resetting or removing root access all from a single pane of glass. So I find that to be pretty cool. I did record a screenshot from my other accounts just before I did enable MFA on it. And this is what users will or organizations will see, right? Effectively, this ribbon that registering your MFA for root credentials will be required in 35 days as per the documentation as it's kind of laid out here.
I like that. Thank you for doing that. Like that, because sometimes my question is for some of this stuff is what does it look like on the other side, right? I know what I'm doing and I'm configuring in my account, but what's it look like out on that other side? So I like that you did that. Thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so my next one, Stephen, is around some UI changes that we made to WAF and just making it easier to deploy WAF. I'm not ashamed to say publicly, Stephen, that sometimes I struggle, creating or just deploying WAF and deploying it with all of the specific rules that I want in place that are relative to my workload, right? It's easy to deploy just like, basic kind of maybe IP-based rules that, I can just block either specific known bad actor IPs or, just pretty pervasive blocks like, I don't know, all of the Russian IPs or something like that, right? Those are easy, but it can be a bit challenging, I think, from some customers I've worked with to deploy WAF at times relative to their workload. And the new announcement for WAF, let me actually minimize this. I can't even see repo stuff. There we go. So some of the changes we made to the WAF console has really kind of simplified deployment and configuration of WAF in a lot of customers' organizations to just streamline the protection of their various and diverse applications that they may have.
And there's, the other piece of this is right. We're wearing our AWS hats today, and there's a lot of people who work in AWS. There's customers I talk to, people I talk to, they wear multiple hats, right?
Oh yeah.
So they don't necessarily have all the depth of knowledge in each of these services and technologies that they need to, that they might be, oh yeah, that's Bob's job. So that's also Bob's job. So,
right.
He's got a lot to do. And so bringing this in and making it just easier to follow and for us to do that, I always appreciate when we can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and even as you mentioned, like even security professionals sometimes find it kind of cumbersome, and it was kind of a multi-step process, and which could obviously, even if it was kind of programmatic, could be it's susceptible to some risk of human error potentially, right? In deploying inconsistent rule sets across your environment and your workload. So streamlining those workflows through these kind of curated protection packs, as they're known in the console, and I'll kind of show you that here momentarily, is really aimed at helping reducing some of the configuration steps required.
And as Melhano says, MFA, good idea. Yes, it is. I'd say it's a great idea.
I would say MFA is yes, a great idea. A great idea. So yeah, I definitely, two questions that kind of came to mind, Stephen, as I kind of started playing around with the new UI were two things. One was just relative to some of the just kind of basic config sort of challenges, if you will, that I see users post on repos, and some of them are not all related to just streamlining, but it's just sort of, it adds to the complexity when I'm trying to figure out why, my basic kind of rules aren't working, and I'm flipping between different screens, maybe to create different JSON-based rules or what have you. And so this kind of spoke to a little bit from PF, I don't want to say this, Stephen, PF Solve World. I'm bad at this.
Yeah.
I'll
go with that. Sounds good.
So from this user, I just trying to figure out why these rules aren't working, and whether it's usability or from a cost standpoint, right? I see a lot of questions on repos just relative to either optimizing their costs, or how do I figure out how much sort of my anticipated WAF config costs will be. Both of these, as I started to play around with this new UI, were kind of addressed, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay. To do that, I deployed one of my favorite workload or workshops. We have a really cool serverless workshop, which for those who maybe aren't as familiar with AWS, we have a lot of cool unicorn workshops out there. This serverless workshop is no different. It's kind of a play on maybe your favorite
ride-hailing service.
With Elon out there, or a bunch of these autonomous taxi services. I figured I'd throw my name in the ring there with my autonomous unicorn rental service and dominate the globe. So I deployed this only just to experiment with the new WAF config, but you can check that workshop out there, serverless workshop, ride hailing or wild rides workshop if you're interested. Nonetheless,
it's a great workshop. It's a fun workshop to do. I suggest checking that out. Or when you go to one of our conferences, if they have a chance to do one of these workshops, definitely take the chance to do it. It's a fun time. The unicorn theme throughout some of the different workshops we've had over the years is great. I think Wild Rides is definitely one of my favorites as well. Go rent a unicorn for a ride.
Yeah, and they work in Seattle. They work all the way out here in Iowa. These are some of the best unicorns out there. In any event, so what you'll see in WAF now is this kind of new UI here, and this giant new button for resources and protection packs. I've kind of been playing around with it, but you do have an option that I no longer have currently to use the old UI if that's what you're familiar with, and that kind of takes you step by step from the provisioning of the WAF to the application of what a resource you want WAF to protect, etc. But now you can use this new UI to protect your resources a little bit easier. So I, as an example, could deploy for my call it e-commerce unicorn site here. I can just quickly layer on WAF with a number of workload specific recommendations or protection packs kind of automatically out of the box. So that there's a recommendation, there's some essentials, that every workload of this type ought to have. And then look at this. I also have, based on my anticipated requests, a cost estimate, right? Which again, it's the simple things, Stephen. Even if you make it easier for me to anticipate my costs, I eat that stuff up. So, I think it's super cool. And then, let's take it a step further. You know what else I can do while I'm in this, Stephen?
What?
Because again, I'm not a security professional. So, sometimes.
Can you make a secure cheesesteak?
Yeah. I don't think you can, but I'm not a professional. So sometimes, IP allow list, some of the global rate limit stuff, that stuff I'm super familiar with. But sometimes I get requests from the organization that are maybe above my pay grade of how to create the rule effectively. And that's, of course, where some of the natural language capabilities can really come in handy.
Oh, okay.
So with Q sort of enabled, right, and you kind of see I've been playing around, you can also do things like, hey, just help me create some of my rule sets, right? Let's say you're trying to come up with, I don't know, do you have a specific use case? What do you think?
Quiz me on the fly. Yeah, somebody in chat let us
know.
In chat let me know. As JibJabo6 says, I think cheesesteak lack the structural integrity to ever be secure. I would agree. A good cheesesteak is definitely going to have some, looseness to it. And while we're coming up with something for you to pop in there, Mahalino did ask, what's the cost to the workshops? We shared the link to the workshop in the chat, so definitely go check that out. So with the workshops and stuff, if you're doing them on ours, you're generally vended an AWS account that you do that in. That kind of goes away when you're done the workshop, but you can do a lot of our workshops on your own in your own account. But obviously then that's going to incur any charges for the services and things that you're going to spin up. So you want to, kind of be aware of that. But it's still definitely, it's a great way to learn some of the services and be able to implement this stuff. All right. Did you come up with, or do we have somebody that came up with something?
I just looked across repos to see a rule that somebody tried to create and just grabbed it. So,
what's the rule? I didn't see, what's that say there?
It blocks requests where the URI path starts with admin, right? So I don't want anybody trying to get in there, and comes from outside the US, but nonetheless, I can then use natural language to just try to come up with that rule. Oh, I should probably explicitly state, because I want to use that blocks for create a JSON rule.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
I want to actually apply a custom rule and see if it can give me. I'll do a geobase. This is what I'm looking for. Let's see if I can create a rule on the fly just using natural language, right?
All right.
So you can see I can pair some of the protection packs rules that kind of come out of the box based on my workload type, just kind of a public e-commerce or ride hailing service. And then I can use natural language for the things that perhaps I don't want to scan through a bunch of documentation to try to figure out, or at least to help get me there, right? And so you can see very quickly, then it's just creating sort of the JSON based on my natural language requests, and I can pop that in here and apply that rule to my WAF. Now, I've already done that because I wanted to generate a bit of traffic, and I wanted to highlight a few of the new dashboards that you'll see with the new WAF experience. So I've started to, fetch some rides in that. You can see based on my test rule, the protection pack behavior. I can see a number of the allow requests, etc. And then I can pop into a full dashboard that's going to give me much more detailed information about the protection pack activity based on some of the rules that have been applied. So I see a number of these requests that are coming in. I get some really cool visuals, overview visuals from that provides me a bit more traffic characteristics, which I thought was kind of cool. I can kind of click through a lot of these out of the box experiences that are in this new UI. It really helps me very quickly understand my web traffic. So this again, I found to be a super cool announcement. I thought I had a link to. Here it is. Here's a link just to some of the new dashboard experiences that you can anticipate with the new app UI.
And I love, you talk about these the dashboards here in this, right, and that visual, and just kind of they're there out of the box and you're able to get to them. And I've seen that across a number of other different services and stuff they've been rolling out this year. They're adding that functionality, that view in there, and it makes it just easier to understand what's going on and what you're doing. You're like, it's so simple. It's right there in front of my face. I can see it. I can understand it. It's clear. So I think a lot of that comes from, we're really taking our customer feedback to that, and, really kind of, okay, what is going to make their lives easier? What is going to make our customers' lives better? And how do we kind of continue with that improvement? And I've seen some real kind of just the speed at which some of these things come out is just fantastic these days. So that's it? That's your top favorite?
I got
one more.
I got one more. I'll scurry through it.
Okay.
But to your point, I'm a visual learner, and sometimes I'm deploying these rules and they're getting blocked, and I'm not quite sure why. And typically I'm dumpster diving through logs to see blocks or accepts, or I'm flipping a count over block or whatever. And so these visuals kind of help.
Me too. Like I've definitely had those times when I'm like, this should work. Why doesn't this work? What am I doing wrong? Where is it?
What is going on?
What is going on here?
So my last one from the same screen, even Stephen, you may have noticed. Maybe you picked. Maybe the audience out there noticed is the new Shield announcement. And I know we briefly chatted about some of the new Shield Network Security Director feature, but it's really meant, again, to kind of give you centralized visibility into your network and some of the security gaps that could potentially be exploited. Hopefully you capture them with this new experience before they are exploited, right? So across your VPCs, your security groups, NACL, load balancers, et cetera, this new director, and I've been playing around a little bit with it, so I do have it kind of deployed. It does an assessment across your environment, and it builds kind of a visual topology of your network, and it continuously discovers across your network to find resources that should potentially be protected in a way, and then prioritizes your different findings. So I've been, I'm just playing around with it. I did run an assessment. You can run it, the account and regional level across many accounts. And then it provides you sort of this admin dashboard where you can see those findings by severity, and then by specific service. And then, of course,
I like it. You don't have any critical or high.
I don't. Good, right? I cleaned those up, to be honest, just because I didn't want to be publicly shamed for allowing RDP just open to the world, at least in front of a global audience. But I left a few just so you could see that this indeed did conduct a scan. You can run those as often, as frequent as you would like. But a few things that I want to call out here. I like that we included some natural language capability where I can ask some of these pre-canned questions, or I could even double click on that. I do appreciate that. Right, where I can ask, hey, is my web application, protected from fraud, and kind of go through that. I won't save you from all of the queries. But then, I get this nice breakdown of compute and network resources and security resources and by severity, which is critical, right? Because I want to try to reduce the amount of noise, right? A lot of noise in the security space. Just tell me what's critical and some of those findings. So I really like that. I get to see specifically in the resources. And then when I go to resources specifically, I get this really cool topology. And you get a nice ribbon that just tells you this is.
Can you drag that part? Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Look at that. There we go.
Oh, look at this. So now I can see end to end, just sort of that flow from my inner gateway all the way through my VPC to the specific subnets and different flows, right? That traffic would take back to just my run-of-the-mill EC2 instance. And I can drill into each one of these and assess the severities of those findings that we saw and recommendation steps even.
Oh, so I
from
didn't
that
I
vein.
noticed, so these color coding
Yeah.
the boxes there as
Yep.
to the
Low.
severity levels and stuff. So
Yep.
low, medium, high. Okay. Nice. I like that. That's definitely for me. Like that's one of the things like, oh, how does this flow? How does this connect? Oh, this is how it sees it. I think there's been times as well when I've had to troubleshoot networking things,
Oh man.
or working with the networking team, and they're like, hey, well, we're like the application works like this. It goes to here, to here, to here, across that
Right.
stuff, and then you get it, and the networking guy, team tells you that's not what's happening. It's going over here and then here and over this place and then out, to left field, and they're like, wait, it shouldn't be doing that. Why is it doing that?
It's like the
So
first question network guy will ask you, or gal, right? Like,
yeah,
walk me through end to end how this is working. And now at least I have a better indication of how traffic is flowing, just kind of out of the box without, kind of fiddle farting and trying to stitch together different logging resources.
and we got a question from Lambda Driver. That's
Ooh.
powerful. Does this work across accounts? Jay, does this work across accounts?
Yes, I believe it does. Now in preview, it is currently in preview. So I would have to double check some of the potential limitations for number of accounts or regions, etc. But I do believe, and unfortunately in my sandbox, I'm only in a single account. But yes, the intention is for you to get a broader view of
Right.
your network landscape cross account.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I don't think I'd fully caught, like, I think I'd seen that announcement.
Yeah.
But I don't think I fully understood, like it didn't like kind of click in my brain with what that was and what that looked like. That's cool. You're welcome, Lambda Driver. Like the name too. That's a good
What a cool
that's a
name.
good username. I don't ever pick them that cool. Okay. So I got 2 more to cover before
All right.
we get out of here today. So let's bring it up. So the first one here is improving your security posture using Amazon Threat Intelligence on AWS Network Firewall. Sounds amazing, right? It's just grabs you right from the headlines. But what this does is it takes, we've got, our threat intelligence system, MadPot.
MadPot, is that what you said?
Yes,
MadPot?
MadPot. Yes, MadPot. I think probably one of my favorite names. I don't know why, but it makes me think of Alice in Wonderland, and I don't know why.
Sounds like a ramen restaurant.
So what MadPot is, it's our threat intelligence tool, and it's been around since the late 2010s, which says weird to say that. So basically, we utilize our scale as to kind of learn would-be attackers targeting phony digital, so there are lots and lots and lots of honeypots, right? A honeypot is used to attract somebody and kind of get them sucked in and then get them trapped, right? So ours is MadPot, and it takes across all of our scale and landscape, takes all of that threat intelligence that we have to help us protect our customers. With this new release, we now provide that an active threat defense, a rule for being able to just add this to your firewalls and basically leverage all of that knowledge that we have in learning and continually updating of stuff, right? So if we come over here, let me find here. So I deployed a basic network firewall that I called Basic Network Firewall because
helpful.
I'm not, that's my so what you can do is, let me find where this is in the rule. So this is just a very basic, simple firewall that I've got deployed up. Firewall policy settings, right? So if you come into the firewall settings, firewall policy settings, right, and you've got some stateful rule groups. I've got my basic rule group for my basic firewall. So come over here, and then here you can add a managed stateful rule group. And you now have this option here of being able to put in this attack infrastructure action order, right? Thank you, Erie Edits. And so there's two different types of rules that you know. So here I can add this in, and it's got a capacity of like 15,000 rules and stuff that it can have. This is a special group outside of the normal rule group limits that you would have in your own, if you were creating your own rule groups and stuff like that. So it takes all of this and it just updates this in the background. I take this rule, I can add it onto my firewall, and now I am using this and the rules and stuff that are managed and created in my firewall coming from that MadPot threat intelligence that we have. They have, you can run it in alert mode, meaning basically just warn me, tell me what you would be blocking, not actually blocking it. And they have this deep threat inspection, which isn't there yet. But what it'll do is it'll eventually, when released, be able to kind of analyze service logs and get even more granular in particular about the defense rule. So if I come in here, grab this rule, add it to policy, and then boom, there you are. And you now have this policy in here. If I get back to where the rule groups were, there we go, policy settings. And I've now got this in here and that capacity to be able to have that line up and add that protection right there and leverage basically that power of scale for my firewalls, right? So again, you talk about making it simpler, making it easier to do those things. This is, I think, really, really cool that we're able to kind of bring this in and make it available to our customers in a few clicks, really, to be able to add that in and to do that from there. So
I like anything that makes it easier to be safer in the cloud.
Yeah. Like secure by default, or just, I forget who said it. It was, default into success or default into the right path, right?
Yeah.
You just send them down the right path, right? Don't have, which way do I go? Here, just, follow this road. It's going to take you down that right path to put that in place for there. All right. So I've got one more thing to talk about. And I think this goes back to what you were talking about with some of those interface updates and those changes to make things simpler.
Mm-hmm.
So here in CloudFront, creating a distribution, they've updated this interface and made it super simple now to walk through, understand what settings you're applying, what settings you're not applying. And you can just come in here like, is it a single website? Is it a multi-tenant? I'm going to be, demo 2 CloudFront. You know what? I'm going to do better than demo cheesesteak. We should have a unicorn cheesesteak delivery service. What do you think? That should be the next one. It's like the unicorn food delivery service. All right, click next. And here, I'm starting to get hungry now too. Here you can specify your origin, really simple. And again, be able to choose the bucket, go through all of those settings, and create it. So if I go browse here, demo bucket. Yes. And then, do I want, allow private? What are the origin settings? I just walk through this, couple clicks. Do I want to enable security protections with the WAF, like what you were demoing before? Set it in monitor, really clear. What is this? What am I doing? And stuff like that. Next. And again, back to here is the price estimate, right? Here's telling me clear. This is what you're looking at, right? It's there up front. Here's everything. And then boom, I've created that distribution. It's going to go out there and create that distribution for you.
Stephen, it's an underrated addition in different parts of the console experience. It really is. Estimated cost and just some of the enhancements. I know we covered this at reInvent too, like enhancements we made to like the pricing calculator. It's just, it's a sneaky good thing just to be highly visible about cost. How many customers have you worked with that maybe over provisioned or maybe were even turned off from a service just because of like the cost barrier or perceived cost barrier? So I like that. It's a sneaky addition.
Yeah. And it's the, that's one of the things too. It's like how many times, I've worked with developers and stuff in different platforms and they've gone, oh, we need to go deploy this thing. Mm-hmm. They didn't realize they were deploying the Rolls Royce of instances, right? That they were doing. They're like, oh, I'm just running this test. And it's like, alarm bells are going off because they're chewing through money per second and stuff, and they didn't realize that those controls and things like that. So having that up front, go, do you realize that this is going to cost you $1 million? Spicy Corsair is jumping in. They want a cheesesteak pizza, please.
Cheesesteak
Yeah,
pizza.
that's the thing.
Interesting.
It is totally a thing. You can get
That's
that.
a thing?
Have that right. Oh, cheesesteak pizza, of course. You can also get cheesesteak egg rolls, which are also really good. We like to satisfy lots of different types of cheesesteak lovers.
This is wild. What an experience.
Next time you come to Philly, Jay, we'll get you the
Yeah.
full experience. Yeah, Jib Jab, I'm making myself hungry on that as well. So
Wow.
So yeah. So anyway, back here, within a few clicks, I've got my distribution created going forward there. Cheesesteak as a service, please, from Big Chief Rick. Yes, I think that's where we need to get to the
That's probably where we should get
the
to.
unicorn team and get them to maybe add that enhancement, food delivery service, your famous foods of Philadelphia. So all right, so that's what I got. That's it. Those are the two kind of additional updates from the other stuff that we talked about today, that I think are a good time. All right, so before we roll out of here and top off the summary and talk about what's coming up with the next show, Jay, you're going to tell me. So all right, so you had 3 cheesesteaks, you said?
At 3 cheesesteaks. Don't ask me where I got them all. But I had 3 different cheesesteaks, and honestly, I know I might be banned from Philly for saying this. They were all just kind of good. I don't know that I would say oh, this one was way better than the other. They were all pretty good. I think now.
Well, you like them, right? You
Oh no,
they were all good.
They
right?
were markedly better than any
Yeah.
cheesesteak that I had before. Yeah, I'm hoping to have an AWS event in Iowa and introduce the fine folks out there to our wonderful tenderloins, our sweet corn, and our taco pizza, of course.
Taco. I've had some. I would definitely want to check out the taco pizza in Iowa, because I've had some taco pizza in different places, and it's one of those things. It can go bad. It can be a bad depending on how it's done. Same thing with cheesesteaks. It's if you don't do it right,
Yeah. No one does taco pizza like Happy Joe's in Iowa. No one.
Yeah, from Jib Jab, Jay woke up today and chose violence. I would agree with that. Just saying they're okay.
I'm still hungry. I'm still working off the cheesecakes that I had,
I like it. Victor is really pulling it out with the pineapple.
Talk about violence. One of the most divisive issues the course of America is pineapple on pizza, and yes. I stand against it. Pineapple does not belong on pizza.
I stand for it. I love pineapple pizza. Pineapple and ham on pizza. Love it. Oh, chunks can't be too big, but yeah, it can be good. Let us know in the comments what do you think of the pineapple on pizza, or Jay's assessment of the Philadelphia cheesesteak. So
pretty good cheesesteak you guys got out there. I do want to drop the there was a really nice comprehensive blog, Stephen, that covered all of the announcements, some of which we covered today, some that we didn't have time to, improvements to immutable backup, etc. Let me click on it so you guys can see it. Be sure to check that out, though. It's a great article, kind of takes you through all of the announcements more comprehensively. And so start using some of these services, see where you can find value in them in your organization.
And if you've looked at them before, or maybe you thought, oh, I don't, maybe it doesn't fit, then check it out. For now, we'll drop the link to that in the chat for you to check out maybe some of the other topics that are there, and let us know what your favorite one is, or if you run into problems or have a question about any of these, where can you head over to repost.aws and ask your questions out there, and the community will rally around you and get you an answer.
Yeah, and that's the best part. So yes, there's, at this point, Stephen, we have some of the best content on the internet. We have the best intro music, of course, of any show. I just don't know why you aren't signing up with your builder ID on repos. I've given you. What more do you want from us? No,
I can't think of anything else. So I think
okay.
they may want us to send them some food because we're hungry at this point.
We can do that. We can do that. But hey, if you're curious, you can also follow our show tag. If you head over to repost.aws, get signed up. You can follow Repost Live and follow all of the content that we have coming up, including this show, of course, that we jam-packed all of our Reinforce announcements, and our next show, which will be streaming live next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday,
July already?
Is it? No.
Oh man.
Is it July next Tuesday?
I think it is. Oh man. Okay. Well, we're back next Tuesday, July 1st at 2 p.m. Pacific. And I think we're going to be double clicking on this guy. Oh, yes. No, I clicked the wrong button. This guy. Operational best practices with Bedrock agents. So you can head over to Repost right this second, because I'll be doing that show, and you can get the conversation started. What questions do you have around this topic? Bedrock, of course, is one of our fastest growing services, and many, many customers are adopting it. So head over there right now, get the conversation started, and we'll take your questions live on air from this article or just live in chat. So head over right now and get that conversation started.
And Eddie's a great person to have a conversation with about this and about Bedrock and Gen AI in general. He's really, really knowledgeable. So definitely check out the show next week.
Yeah. And stay here live on Twitch. We have so many good shows, not just Stephen and I on Repost Live, but there's millions of other shows out there that you can check out right here on Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever we are. On Times Square, where are we?
And yeah. Well, we're coming from the interwebs. And Vandervreed 12 is asking best practices, including security. So I assume next week you're going to be talking about security, of course, with Bedrock, right?
Security, performance, model output, all of the things.
All of the things.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about is it Vandred? We'll cover whatever you would like us. But yes, we're covering all operational aspects as it pertains to Bedrock agents.
Awesome. Cool. And I think with that,
exchange retention.
Do we want to get out of here? Yeah.
Exchange. Yes. Hey, Stephen, it's always a pleasure. For you fine folks out there, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining Repost Live. As always, my good friend, happy building.
Happy building. See y'all.